As many of you know, I very much got over my anger and kind of hatred towards Xbox, and I was very upfront about what happened and things like that. So there's no need to really jump into that anymore. But I do want to talk a little bit about something that was really one of the reasons that started to be a catalyst for that. And you know what? I just want to say that since I've started to kind of let go of all that stuff, and I've, kind of had help with that from the man upstairs, it's just been one of those things where I have been enjoying gaming so much more. I'm less on social media. I'm having fun. I'm a little bit reinvigorated. I've got some cool things coming. Unfortunately, not till the beginning of the year. Even a podcast, and it's going to be something I feel is going to be good, and it's going to start small. I understand that, when you're rebuilding and things like that, that's the way things go. But Microsoft, one of the things that bugs me, I think, in general, not just about companies, but people, is when they can never admit that they're wrong. And that's something that, I have no problem admitting I'm wrong a lot. And, that's something that I live with. I apologize a lot. And, and I live by that. I think that, we're all human and we all can mess up. And so with that being said, I have no problem saying, hey, you know what? I screwed up really bad right there. Please, forgive me. We all mess up. I feel like a lot of people hold me unfairly to some level of, malevolence or something. Like I can't mess up while everybody else can. But, I digress. With that being said, Microsoft finally admitted today that they screwed up big time with something. And the thing is, it's one thing to just admit that, but the other thing is they're actually learning from that. And I think that what they learned is more important than anything. And I'm going to get into it because this is going to be a topic that I think you guys aren't going to want to miss. Hey there everyone, I'm the Crapgamer, and of course this is Crapgamer Reviews, your home for gaming news, opinions, reviews, and much more. You'll probably notice some cool changes around here, but that shouldn't stop you from giving us a like and possibly even consider subscribing if you haven't already done so. Thank you so much for choosing to spend some of your free time with me today. It really does mean a lot. Now, Lionhead Studios closure was a huge deal back in the day. Lionhead had produced some of the best games that I had ever played on Xbox. The Fable trilogy, the original trilogy, was absolutely phenomenal, and I feel like it's very underrated. I can still look back to Fable 2, and yes, Peter Molyneux would always build up his games, and then it would end up not having something that they promised, or they wouldn't be able to pull off something. But I think it's better to aim high and miss those than aiming low. And I feel like what they were able to accomplish was some really good stuff. In fact, Fable 2 won Game of the Year on G4 TV at the time, on X-Play, I think. And, it was just a fantastic game. And, of course, they rushed Fable 3. But the funny thing is Fable 3 is a game that I can remember as being almost up there on par with like a Halo or Gears or something, meaning that everybody on my friends list at one time was playing it. And the way that Fable 3 worked was it would compare you to your friends on like how many this you got, or how many of that you got, or how many Hobbs you killed, or whatever, or how many STDs you got, or how many kids you had in the game, or whatever. So I remember like I had a ton of friends that just played the game, and that was so rare for a game that wasn't like a Gears or a Halo. So yeah, I feel like even though that game took some steps backwards, that it was still an incredible game. And people often like kind of bag on it, and I still find it to be just a really incredible game. So Guildford-based developer Lionhead Studios was almost 20 years old when it was closed down by Microsoft in March of 2016. It had produced several acclaimed games, chiefly the God game RTS franchise Black and White and the action role-playing game franchise Fable. The closure of Lionhead came suddenly alongside the announcement of the cancellation of Fable Legends, a free-to-play cooperative 4v1 multiplayer game where one player would act as the dungeon master, hindering the other player's progress in various ways. Now, at the time, this news actually turned out to be a shock for the whole industry, and several game companies, including Sony itself, hurried to recruit the departing talent. Now, over 5 years later, Microsoft has reflected on this decision as one of the biggest missteps made since the company entered the games industry. Tomorrow, Microsoft is due to release its Power On, the Story of Xbox documentary series. In Episode 6, as reported by IGN, executive Shannon Loftus, Sarah Bond, and Phil Spencer himself discussed the closure of Lionhead Studios. This is what Shannon Loftus had to say, who's the general manager of Global Games Publishing and now also studio head at World Edge Studio. She said, "One of the biggest missteps that we learned from in the past was Lionhead. We had already published Fable 1 and it was a hit. People wanted more, so we bought Lionhead. Those were good years, but after Fable 2, Connect came along and the Fable Connect marriage just never really took. And then Fable the Journey was a passion project for a lot of people. But I think it was deviated pretty significantly from the pillars of what made Fable 1 and 2 so popular. I wish Lionhead were still a viable studio. Sarah Bond also had this to say now that she's the head of game creator experiences and ecosystem. We acquired Lionhead in 2016 or in 2006 and shut it down in 2016. A couple of years later, we reflected back on the experience. What did we learn? And how do we not repeat our same mistakes? So, I mean, I'm not even sure that she worked there, or I'm not sure about Shannon Loftus if she worked there as well. But, you know, at the time, you know, I think that it's very interesting to talk about this, because this is what Phil Spencer had to say, and I think this is the most pertinent part of this entire part. Phil Spencer said the following: "You acquire a studio for what they're great at now, and your job is to help them accelerate how they do what they do. Not them accelerate what you do." Now think about this for a second. And I don't always, I'm not always on the same page as Phil Spencer or anything like that. You know, I think that really, obviously, you know, I think that he's probably a good guy and things like that. But what he's saying is basically Lionhead Studios got closed down for doing what Microsoft wanted them to do, not for what Lionhead wanted to do. Lionhead had already been on record as saying they wanted to do a proper Fable 4, and they actually had a contingency plan to do Fable 4 with assets and stuff like that. So I think that that was something that is really, you know, a strange thing to kind of talk about, right? And basically, from where I'm kind of standing with this, I feel like what he's saying is that they've learned not to force developers to do things that you want them to do as a company, and this is going to work best for them. You can't force a company to do something. They were forcing a company to go into this, you know, they were forcing Lionhead to do the 4v1 thing because it was popular at the time, and they wanted this crossplay thing. And looking back at the Eurogamer dissection of what happened and the people, what they were saying, they didn't know how to make a Windows Xbox crossplay game like that. You know, they didn't want to do that in the first place. It was something that was forced upon them, and then of course, you know, it ended up gobbling up money, because how are you ever going to make money back that you're spending on this? Like, this game was costing them, what, 75 million, 100 million? I think I read something like that. If I'm off a little bit, then forgive me, but it was a very expensive game. And the thing was, to be honest with you, it was never going to be able to recoup that as a free-to-play game, because you're not going to get all that money from it. You know, it's not like how things are today. You have to remember, you know, 2016 when this game was supposed to launch, and, you know, there wasn't stuff like Fortnite, there wasn't like battle passes or anything like that. So unlike like the Halo Infinite multiplayer, where people are going to buy battle passes and, you know, and microtransactions and stuff like that, Halo's a big game. I don't think Fable was there yet. So yeah, it's one of those things that definitely kind of comes around and kind of shows, hey, we learned from this. It does seem like Microsoft has learned a lot when it comes to dealing with its own developers. Of course, the recent studio acquisitions have gone smoothly so far, and creators seem very content with the new policies. Unfortunately, it's not going to bring back Lionhead, but there is some solace knowing that a new Fable game is being developed at Playground Games, and hopefully it's going to be great. I mean, they have everything they need to make a great game. I'm just really excited to see exactly what happened there. So yeah, it's a very exciting thing, and you know, for me personally, I'm glad that they finally admitted I can let go of that part of the anger as well. So, you know, I want to hear what you guys have to say about this, though. Let me know. Sound off, rate, comment, subscribe. Have a fantastic day. Rack 'em up, fact 'em up, crap gamer 'em up. Crap gamer out.